right, you guys.
We are live on both my channel and Nate's channel on Instagram.
Two channels at once?
So whoever wants to join in can join in. We're going to talk about the top things that we do to stay raw. And we want to do a Q&A at the end of the video. So you guys can collect your questions, and we're just going to go ahead.
What's up, guys?
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We love having you, and we absolutely love chatting. One of our favorite things. It's like we get high almost talking to you guys and having this community. We always talk about how awesome it is after.
Yeah, we definitely get a charge of energy for sure.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining in.
All right, you guys. All right. So to start, this talk is basically our top six our top 6 tips on how we stay raw.
So you're going to start.
All right, here we go.
Your top tip.
So tip number 1 is definitely eating enough. And that's something that, people have issues with, if they're coming from your standard American style, or even if they're coming from a cooked vegan style of diet. Or lifestyle, I should say, because this should not be a diet, it should be a lifestyle. But not eating enough calories, you end up being, you start to get hungry. You start to feel depleted.
Yeah.
You feel a little tired, a little sluggish. The mitochondria is not really burning a lot. So yeah, if you're not eating enough calories, that is definitely setting you up for a failure.
Yeah, cravings too.
The cravings start to kick in. Yeah, especially, say you eat lunch, you don't have a snack. Maybe you drink a coffee, and then all of a sudden you're home, and your spouse or whatever brought some Little Caesars pizza. And you're famished. You haven't eaten for 6 hours, possibly, if it's 6 o'clock and you ate lunch at 11 or noon. Man, you're setting yourself up for failure. Not carrying fruit with you, and not just not getting in enough calories.
Yeah, that's probably one of my top tips too, is not eating enough. Man. So important.
So important.
And then, so the second tip would be to make sure that you're eating on the lower fat range. And I talk about this all the time. Nate lives this lifestyle with me, and the low fat, and this is, someone was asking about weight loss tips. These are all weight loss tips as well. They work for the same thing, because all, weight gain, acne, depression, all that kind of stuff is largely impacted by what we eat and what we're doing to our bodies. Yeah. So, all of these things can be fixed pretty much for the most part. Like we said, we're not doctors, we're not perfect or anything.
Yeah, right.
But these are great tips to help you get to your health goals. But eating lower fat is very, very important. Some people need to get a little bit more fats in, like if you're really active, if you're doing a lot of labor, and maybe your kids or the elderly do need a little bit more fats too. Yeah. But on average, you want to stick between the 5 and 20% fat range. I find I do best between 8 and 12%.
Yeah.
Some people do better towards 20, and some people do better towards 5. And each day is going to be different. But the reason why you want to do low fat is because if you have too much fat, excess fat in your bloodstream, and keep in mind, every piece of fat that you eat is actually stored as fat immediately in your body. So you don't burn it right away. You burn it later when your glycogen stores run down or whatever. But so when you eat too much fat, it spills over into your bloodstream and into your muscle cells, and actually blocks your cells from insulin opening them and getting the sugar in. So the more fat you eat, the more carbs you're basically limited to eat. So it doesn't necessarily work properly, but that would definitely be my top tip, is to keep it low fat.
Yeah.
And eat enough.
Right, eating enough and keeping it low fat. There's definitely a fine balance there. And even on the raw side of things, it is so extremely easy to go way over your, 15% fat percentage intake of a day. Yeah. Like sometimes, you and I'll get a little wild, and we're like, we put in chronometer, we're like, oh my gosh, 30% fat today, that's intense.
And we feel sluggish and not so vibrant when we're eating that high fat. And the thing is too, with the high fat or low fat, is that if you are not eating over 2,000 calories, 10% of your calories is going to be extremely low. So if you're eating 1,200 calories a day, that's 120 calories from fats, 10%, which is only 13 grams of fat, which is basically nothing.
Yeah.
But if you're eating 2,400 calories a day, that's 240 calories from fat, or almost 30 grams of fat,
Huge.
which is a healthy amount of fat to eat. So the more calories you eat in general, the more fat you can eat in general, and keep it at the 10% range.
Yeah, and of course how active you are.
Yeah, and how active you are.
Yeah.
Definitely. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, for the people who are living kind of a sedentary life, or they have an office job. Yeah, not really focusing on exercise, the higher fat kind of can mess with you,
totally.
sneak in there.
So everyone's going to be slightly different. So you want to play with that, but try to keep it on the lower end.
Yeah. What's up, you guys? Hey.
Hey, everybody.
All right.
We're going to get to your questions soon. We're going to finish up the next 4 tips, and then we're open to questions.
So yeah, tips, our top 6 tips on how to stay raw. Another tip that we've got down here is priorities.
Yes.
So this is a huge one, because I'll have people say like, Nate, how do you do this? I've got kids. I don't have time to prepare, cut up my vegetables and, make a dressing, but at the same time, I hear these same individuals talking about Game of Thrones. So they binge watched 2 episodes of Game of Thrones. Now, I haven't seen Game of Thrones. I know I'm like kind of under the rock, right? But I don't know how long these episodes are. But if they're an hour an episode, that's 2 hours that's spent on watching a TV show when you're saying, I don't have the time to feed my body the right way. So that is kind of like having your priorities, not really in line with your health goals, I would say. So having those priorities is so huge, and making time, no matter how busy we are. If we're thinking about something, we're going to make it happen. So if we're thinking about, what do I want to have for my snack? Okay, do I have my snack packed? Yes. Do I have my breakfast dialed in? Yes, I just ate my breakfast. Okay, lunch. Oh, I need to make a dressing real quick. Put it in the jar. 3 to 4 minutes. Like literally, it only takes 3 to 4 minutes to make a nice dressing.
You made our dinner salad in like 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's so fast. It's so fast. Especially after you do it, what you like to have, and you only need a certain few ingredients. And then, you're also thinking ahead for dinner. Now, these are kind of things that we do normally in everyday life. Like, oh, what do we want to make for dinner tomorrow? We got to stop by the store and grab yada yada for making whatever dish that you're going to make. So it's the same kind of thing, but having those priorities situated is so huge. And then if you have children, you're setting yourself up, for a win, because you're going to see your kids succeed, and they're going to be excited to be able to make things in the kitchen with you. They've got their certain things that they like. Maybe they like to run the blender. Maybe they like to grate the carrots. Something. It's making it kind of fun. Those are priorities that should be shifted from, say, vegging out. It's so much fun to veg. We like, to be lazy, and we like convenience, but to prepare for our day and having our priorities situated is another key tip for sure. As well as, in the long run, say we're always like wringing out our energy to the very max. We haven't eaten anything. We're running off of coffee, no water. Maybe we're grabbing a soda after work, because like you can get a 64-ounce soda for 69 cents or some crazy thing. I don't even know what. It's set up. This system, I feel like in a lot of ways, is set up for us to be unhealthy and sick. That way we need to go to the doctor's offices. We need to say, my skin is really dry. I'm having eczema happen, or, my thyroid is not functioning right, and I'm like super sluggish. I don't have the regular bowel movements. And then they're giving us, a multitude of different medications, and that right there, in the long run, that's not setting us up. So, and that's where those priorities come in. I feel like is, if we're going to take an hour less to be able to plan for our next day, that way we're not going to be, hopefully, going to be spending too much time in those doctor's offices.
Yeah. And on the note of priorities, I find that if you are doing something like a food journal, the best time to do the food journal is at night the day before. So most people, when they do a food journal, they get their journal and they're like, okay, so today I had this for breakfast, and I had this for lunch, and I had this for dinner. And then they're done. Yeah. And then the next day, at bedtime, they're like, this is what I had for breakfast. This actually is just recording what you've done. But if you go at night and instead you say, tomorrow I want to have a banana date smoothie for breakfast, and then I'm going to have Lissa's French dressing for lunch, and I'm going to have chili for dinner. You're setting yourself up to have that for tomorrow. And then at the end of the day, you say, I had banana date smoothie, check, I had the French salad, and check, I had the chili. And then you write it down for the next day. So this sets you up for success. That's the proper way to do a food journal, is not to write what you had, because if you're not planning anything, of course you're going to just be winging it. It's not going to be a priority. So That's what I wanted to say on the priority part.
I love it.
But tip number 4 would be affirmations. Affirmations are so important. Standing in power poses.
Yes.
Like get all strong
Stretch
and
it
powerful. Standing in the mirror and telling yourself positive things. You're beautiful. You're a raw vegan. Or you're just a vegan. You're worth it. You don't eat junk food. You're strong enough. You can overcome your cravings. Plan for your day. Like plan exactly what you want to eat during the day. And stand strong in those. I have my 5-minute meditation. It's I am a raw vegan, and it really like sets the tone for the day. You listen to it and you're like, yeah, I really want to choose hydrating foods.
I used that. I still use it at certain days. Like this last weekend when I was hanging out with all my homies, I was like, all right, I'm just going to have to tell myself every day that I'm a raw vegan. You know, because they had the whiskey, they had the small batch of bourbon, and I was like, man, maybe, you know, like one shot probably wouldn't like kill me. You know, it might feel good on my muscles after snowboarding all day. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to feel like total crap. So I am a raw vegan. I'm a raw vegan. I don't drink alcohol, you know, like.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can use those affirmations to put yourself in that positive mindset. And when it comes to cravings, the most powerful moment is when you walk away.
Yeah.
When you actually decide, I will feel better if I eat a salad. I want to feel that pride in myself. I want to be proud of myself. Like, we don't want to be guilty or regretful or any of that. We want to be happy and proud that we made healthy decisions.
Totally.
So when you use those affirmations, when you are having a craving or anything like that, that can really help push you over. So that's another tip to staying raw, is to use those affirmations, retrain your habits, retrain your beliefs, and that will really, really help.
Huge. Definitely the daily affirmations.
Yeah.
So huge. And you know, all of these things are really, really simple things. Like when we're writing these out, we're like, oh, these are very, very simple. And these are things that, you know, as we implement each day, it becomes just a part of our whole life, and we don't even really have to think about it. It's just something you do. Like as you're there brushing your teeth in the morning or doing your routine in the bathroom, you could be pumping up yourself in your own head. You don't necessarily have to say it out loud. It could all just be inner thoughts. Of course, speaking it is more powerful. But those affirmations are so huge.
And yes, the affirmations, I just had a question, are available on my YouTube channel. You can also get it for $2 if you want to download it off my website, payhip.com/rawfoodromance. But it's for free on YouTube. Just search 5-minute meditation Lissa and it should come up. So yeah.
That's a great key.
Yeah.
So another one we have here is
number 5.
How we feel. So how I feel and the mindset of prevention. So yes, definitely huge on keeping me raw. I like the way it makes me feel. Now I've kind of dabbled with, like, you know, some cooked food here and there within the last couple of years, because it's been almost 2 months. This next month it'll be 2 years raw, but I have eaten a couple of cooked vegan meals, and I can definitely feel the difference, as well as even just eating some, you know, like dehydrated crackers. Like I can feel the difference of how those foods make me feel. And I'm sure everybody, you know, out there knows that, you know, you eat certain foods and you feel a certain way. Some foods you feel amazing. So it's, of course, it'd be good to, you know, stick with those foods, like a melon. I always feel so good if I'm eating a lot of melons. And of course, those are coming in seasons, you know, and berries, as well as like a good healthy salad, like a nice big salad. But if I'm getting like higher fats in there, you know, maybe some dehydrated foods, like some dehydrated mangoes, you know, different kinds of ice creams, like I'll put, you know, almond butter in my ice cream, raw almond butter. I can definitely feel the difference, you know, as the fat intake is higher.
Yeah.
So that is another thing that keeps me raw, is I just want to feel awesome. I just want to feel like super pumped full energy. I used to drink a lot of coffee, so I would have a quad shot, 4 shots of coffee over ice, and I would just slam it down, you know, because I didn't want the sugar and the cream necessarily, but I just wanted that buzz. I wanted that energy. And it's cool because I don't necessarily need to drink coffee anymore, because I've trained my body to say, hey, to the adrenal glands, wake up down there, we've got work to do, we need energy. Because if you're constantly drinking liquid cortisol, liquid stress, coffee, you know, which there's all kinds of different people who have different feelings on coffee. And if you drink coffee, I'm not like poo-pooing you or whatever, but for me, I just don't feel that great when I'm drinking coffee for my energy. The energy that I get is from eating enough calories and, you know, keeping myself positive. And when I'm not with Lissa and she's not with me, like, I have to listen to motivational stuff on the daily to keep myself pumped up here, because it's a dark world out there. There's a lot of like intense stuff that we're dealing with, all of us, on a daily basis. And we could hear about, certain things that's happening within our, our world management team, or, whatever, a myriad of things. So, keeping ourselves pumped up is super huge. But all of this, all of these things are going to hopefully prevent me from not being able to live the life that I want to live, which my goal is, I want to be like the dude who inspired me. Not only did my mom inspire me to go this route, but meeting the guy, because I'm a man, I was like, I met another dude who's 86, and a shredder on the mountain, skiing like crazy. I want to be like that, and I kind of feel like...
And he was raw for 40 years.
Yeah, he's raw vegan, 42 years, reversed his colorectal cancer. And that was pretty much enough for me to say, man, this guy is reversed something insane. And he's prevented himself from not being able to live the life that he really likes to live, which is getting out on the mountain and skiing. He hikes, he bikes, and these kind of things I love to do. It's so fun to be out in nature and just like the wind in my hair. I love the wind in my face and these kind of things. So if I'm eating lots of pizza and drinking lots of, coffee, I'm not going to have, before, this is for me personally, I didn't have the energy that I have now. Like before, I would like stop at the gas station, I would get chicken on a stick, dipped it in barbecue sauce. I'd have like 2 Red Bulls, get a quad shot of coffee on the way to go ride. I'm constantly like diluting my body with all of this fake energy.
Yeah.
I didn't have the good energy. So I want to feel good, and I want to prevent myself from being another one of the numbers, needing medications, needing, breathing machines, needing all the things that we need when we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah, I like to say, I don't want to live an average life, eating the average foods, and dying an average death.
Yeah.
I don't want to. No. I don't want to be part of those statistics. And so if I can prevent at least some of it, like we were watching a video today where it was Mike the Vegan, and he was talking about how people who might get sick on a raw vegan diet or vegan diet and then immediately blame the diet. But all of the science says, you're just basically preventing, for the most part, these diseases.
Right.
Doesn't mean that we're completely immune or we're basically immortal. We're going to live to be 400. Yeah. We can only hope. Sure. But we're doing the best we can because this is how we feel amazing. So if you feel your best eating raw, why not?
Yeah.
Right? Definitely. If I feel my best having a big, gigantic smoothie in the morning and having a massive salad for lunch and dinner, I'm going to do what I feel best doing, and that's what I feel best doing, and that's what I felt best doing for the last, since 2004, since I found out about it. So, So the last and final tip that we would have, this would be the 6th tip, is to find your fallback 5. And this is a very, very important tip. Is to find 5 recipes that you absolutely love, that are raw or vegan or whatever, that you enjoy, that are fast to make, and that you always have ingredients on hand for. I'll use an example, is my French dressing. So the French dressing is 5 dates, some garlic, smoked paprika, lemon juice, and apple cider vinegar.
You carry it in your backpack.
Or in your
purse.
Those 5 ingredients we have on hand all the time. We love it. It's super easy to make. You can just throw all the vegetables into a bowl, pour that dressing on, and it's done. So if you can find 5...
The blender's the only part.
Yeah, the blender's the only part.
Still haven't figured out how to make that without a blender.
Right? But for the most part, it's super easy. So if you can find 5 recipes that you absolutely love, and you can start to memorize and get really good at making them, you can make them after a really long day at work when you're stressed out. Yeah. You can make them when you're bored. You can make them when you're having a craving because you're going to enjoy it.
Yes.
And you can find a lot of my recipes. These are dips and dressings.
Key. I just cracked the book open right before we started this live. Lissa was getting ready. We just got back. So we're like, all right, let's get ready. We'll do this live. And I'm like, you know what? I'm hungry. We're going to be possibly talking for a little while. I'm going to crack the book open. So I cracked the book open. I went to her pad thai dressing, which is one of my favorites. And I was like, you know what? I know this dressing by heart now. So I closed the book and I added a couple little extra things to it. I added some miso and some sriracha hot sauce. Mm-hmm. Now, so there we can talk about a little bit of the things. This isn't on our list, but these are kind of the things that keep me in the raw world is I have these certain things that I do allow myself. And, you know, certain people might say, well, I'm going to allow myself potatoes. Well, that's cool. You can allow yourself potatoes if that's your thing. For me personally, I like the spices. So I like sriracha. You know, sriracha might be, you know, not considered raw. I like nutritional yeast. I like, you know,
cashews.
I like cashews, and cashews, even if they're raw cashews, aren't necessarily considered like fully raw. But those are the kind of things, the spices, the onions, the garlic, you know, these are the kind of things that keep me in this realm because it tastes so good. Yeah. And so, man, I whooped up this salad like literally less than 10 minutes. A big old bowl of this salad. We each had a bowl. It was just romaine, cabbage, and some garlic sprouts with that dressing all over it. And it's like we want to lick the bowl, you know?
One of my favorite salads. So
that's
good.
definitely, it's so huge to have the fallback. And the pad thai dressing out of that book, I literally use that book, you guys. I mean, I'm not kidding to you at all.
I know, it's all like
I use it at least twice a day, if not more than twice a day. Because I'm like, you know, there's so many I don't have them memorized, but I'm like, I kind of feel like something different. Let's you know, like applesauce. I totally forgot about the applesauce, you know, totally. Or whatever. It's nice to have something to tap into, but definitely that fallback is so huge.
Yeah, and then I have also, this is still on sale on Amazon. It's 29% off right now. It was 35% off a couple days ago.
35% off.
But this is my new meal plan. So there's 90 recipes in here. I'm sure you guys can find 5 that you can fall back on. So you can grab that. You can also get ebook versions of any of my books at payhip.com/rawfoodromance or off my website, rawfoodromance.com. So find those fallback 5s. Which book would you recommend if it's my first book? Honestly, if you aren't used to doing raw vegan and you want to learn like sort of the prep work, I would recommend one of the meal plans because it teaches you prep work. But if you're good with just having salads, this is my favorite one, the plant-based dips and dressings, because you can make any salad with any ingredients and just throw on a nice dressing, whatever you would like.
The way that I entered into this lifestyle was I bought her 30-day meal plan, her first 30-day meal plan. And it was so cool because exactly like it shows you the shopping list that you need for that particular day. So I just combined 3 days worth. So I went shopping and I bought groceries for the 3 days. And then I was able to, find the stuff that I like out of that because there's 90 recipes, you guys. There's 30 breakfasts, there's 30 lunches, there's 30 dinners. You're going to find something, and it's really easy to follow it, especially if you have a friend that you can have come with you, or your spouse or your partner or whatever. Maybe you guys are kids out there and it's like a brother and sister want to do this thing.
Cool.
It's so cool to be able to have recipes to where you don't have to really think because we've been trained and brought up to, we know how to cook bacon and eggs. We know how to cook hash browns. We know how to cook all these kind of things. So when you don't come from the world of raw food, you're like, what do I do? Do I just grate a carrot? You know, like, no, there's so many excellent things that we can use. And it is the bomb. Yeah, see, raw vegan, raw gypsy, not quite hippie. Trey, he says that dips and dressing book, the bomb, so good. It's my fallback book for sure.
Yeah, totally. Oh, you're just shaking the...
Oh, sorry.
It's all good.
Kicking the stand.
No worries. But now I'd like to open up to... So those are our 6 tips, and I'd like to open it up for Q&As. So if anyone's got any questions, we're going to be here to answer anything. Somebody earlier asked if your mom was raw vegan.
Okay.
My mom is high raw vegan, and your mom?
My mom is definitely high raw vegan as well. Yep, definitely. She's high raw vegan as well. She's got a pretty strict regimen that she follows. And that's kind of interesting because there's so many different ways to really live this lifestyle. And, you know, you just kind of find what works for you, you know. So let's see here. We have all your books. I recently had allergy sensitivity testing, and I can't have dates. Oh, this is huge. Okay, or bananas, among other things. Any ideas how to make your recipes without bananas or dates?
Well, instead of dates, I would probably use like dried apricots.
Dried apricots are really sweet, yes.
You could use also raisins, but you have to make sure that the raisins there's no oil because a lot of them have sunflower oil in them to prevent the caking and all of those other ingredients. Right. You can make your own raisins too, but that's a lot more work.
It's a little more work, yeah.
So yeah, raisins, apricots, those would probably be my first options
to kind of sweeten it up. Yeah. That is a tricky one because I've got another friend who can't have dates at all, and a lot of the dressings in the books have dates for that natural sugar. So yeah, try the apricots.
Apricots. And as for bananas, just replace with other fruit.
Yeah.
I mean, mangoes are going to be good.
And I wonder, like, are you eating
yeah.
bananas that are really, really ripe? Or are they slightly, yellow with a little green on top, not very many brown spots? Because that might be messing too. I'm not sure. It's allergy.
It's an allergy sensitivity.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, it could be something in the banana. But something I wanted to bring up about allergies and sensitivities is that a lot of allergies and sensitivities stem from trauma. So we'll use an example for an abused woman. So you have a woman who is constantly abused by her partner. Every time they come home from work, maybe they yell at her, maybe they're really angry, maybe they hit her. There could be so many other reasons, right? But she's constantly in a state of stress whenever her husband comes home or whatever. And they are in a state of stress when they're eating dinner. And the typical things that we eat are like chicken, wheat, soy, oils, and that kind of thing. And those are the standard things that show up on a test. So bananas and dates. Maybe you were eating a lot of bananas and dates while you went through a really traumatic time in your life. And your body, because bananas and dates aren't dangerous at all. Right. So it's interesting how one person can react and the other won't. Yeah. But we think that based on split personality tests, they were doing these tests in the 70s, where they had people with split personality or multiple personalities, and say one woman is Sasha and she's also Sophie. Sasha can eat peanuts no problem. Right. Sophie can eat peanuts and have anaphylactic shock because Sophie went through a trauma as that personality, so she can't have peanuts. But the body itself doesn't react to them when she's Sasha.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So we think that possibly a lot of allergies are due to just trauma. Yeah. We go through, like, there was one story where a little boy got severely allergic to dairy. Now, we shouldn't be eating dairy anyways, but just for the purpose of example, he watched his little dog get run over by a car in the summertime while he was eating an ice cream with his family. So he becomes allergic to dairy because the body doesn't understand where all the stress is coming from. It just
remembers that trauma that he went through while he was eating that certain thing. So the body thinks at that point, particular point in time, anything that was going on marks it as possibly a bad thing. Yeah. Yeah, and someone said that it could go away, so certain things can kind of like, I've had friends who, loved avocado and then all of a sudden they couldn't eat avocado anymore. Same thing. I'm not sure I definitely could picture what was going on in his life was something really traumatic, and that could possibly be it. Yeah. And then Trey says over here for that person asking about the bananas and dates, who was that? That
maple
was
syrup,
Heidi, absolutely. Yeah, so maple syrup in lieu of dates, that's could be an option too. Yeah. The trauma connection is shifting my paradigm. Yes, I know, right? When I heard that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense for so many different things, because you couldn't necessarily have avocados.
Yeah, for my story is, the reason why I know about all of this is because for 3 years while I started, like the first 3 years being a raw vegan, I wasn't eating avocado because every time I would, it would be like eating a sleeping pill. Now, in my past, I lost a lot of money with my ex over the stock market. And I was eating an avocado every single day during that time of stress. And all I wanted to do was sleep. I hated my life and it was just a really horrible time. But I was eating these avocados every single day. Yeah. So my body was like, okay, well, what is causing the stress? Well, she's eating an avocado every day, so this must be causing the stress. So it becomes sensitive and it pushes it. It's like, I don't want avocado.
Right.
So when I started being raw, I was like, avocado! Yeah. And I started eating avocados, and every single time it was like a sleeping pill. I would want to pass out. I was so tired. Right. So I was talking to my homeopath about it, and she was like, okay, well, we need to like clear this. So we did a lot of like metaphysical stuff and imagining and meditations and all of that. And I got to the point where I could eat an avocado in peace. Like, you have to like really be peaceful with the food to train your body to be like, well, there's no trauma, there's complete peace. But anyways, we went through a whole thing and we figured out that it was based on that trauma. So like letting go of the trauma, feeling safe with that food. And now I can eat avocados for the most part without high fat. Right. But yeah, I can eat them without getting super tired. So
isn't that wild?
Yeah.
How smart the body is. Always doing what it can to protect us.
Yeah, totally. It's amazing. Yeah. So let's see here. What's your go-to crunchy snack? I miss chips so much going raw. I'm looking for the best purchased substitute and homemade option.
Gotcha.
Honestly, I would say kale chips.
Kale chips. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, well, you get kale chip in you. And it's best to dehydrate the kale chips as opposed to using the oven on the lowest setting because it still really cooks that kale chip and you don't really get the same effect or taste.
Yeah, so kale chips would definitely be one.
I'm not sure of any companies out there because I don't really buy a lot of crackers, but I know there's some good companies out there that make some crackers. I know we want that salty, crunchy kind of fix, and that's where I definitely like the kale chip. We probably, I don't know, we make a lot of kale chips, so we keep kale chips on hand.
Yeah, the kids like them.
Yeah, they like to have them when they come home for a snack. You know, at lunchtime they'll come home for a snack. My oldest is a senior, so he's driving. He likes to have those kale chips as well as at home after school. They like to munch on those, and it's cool because it's kale, right?
Yeah.
And it's dehydrated.
Yeah.
So it's good if they're drinking, you know, they're getting adequate fluids in them because, you know, it's going to suck some moisture out of their system being dehydrated.
Yeah, and you can make a lower fat version. I mean, they do kind of dry out and get like staticky. They're like flaky, but I mean, if you don't want to do high fat, you can always use a low fat dressing. Again, use any of the dressings in here. You can use any of my dressings as kale chip
I've tried
sauce.
like half a dozen and I found like 2 that I like really like, so I stick with those.
Yeah.
I mean, any dressing is going to make it good, especially.
And try them out because you never know.
Like a chili's like a sweet sauce or something.
And you can make your own crackers too with like pulp from your juicer. You can blend it in the Vitamix. You can just make your own.
Make your own crackers. I know we've done some crackers, like even some corn chip. You know, corn chips are really easy. Just frozen organic corn, which, you know, is not necessarily raw, you know, or you could get corn on the cob, throw that in with some flaxseed, grind up some flaxseed in your coffee grinder, and that kind of gels it together, and then add your seasoning. And if you're really kind of craving a little salty fix, it's not necessarily too bad to have a little pinch of salt here or there. You know, just, I mean, if you're not eating how we are being pumped with all these food out there that is so full of salt, a little pinch of some, you know, Himalayan salt or something like that, or some, you know, what's the other one? Not the Himalayan salt. Is it Greek? Not the Greek salt.
Oh, the...
You know what I'm talking about? The white... I can't remember.
Black salt?
Not the black salt. The other one. I can't remember. It's slipping my mind right now.
Sure.
It's on Mediterranean. I can't remember it. It slipped my mind.
There's like crystal salts. There's all kinds of different salts.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you have a tip for me because my family isn't supportive?
That's really tough when your family's not supportive. I would say the affirmations and like listening to videos like Lissa's videos, I would watch and I'm like, okay, I'm a raw vegan. Like, you know, I don't really care what these other people are doing and what they're thinking. Like, we only have so many hours in the day, and it's how we spend those hours. If you're really into hula hooping and nobody's really supporting you on hula hooping, but you envision, I'm just going to be this most amazing hula hooper, you're going to do it. Like, you're going to practice that hula hooping. You're going to watch other videos and people doing tricks with their hula hoop, and, you know, metaphorically speaking, right? So I would say that because it is really tough if you don't have someone supporting you.
It is really tough. And I would say, for me, stand in your power and be the example. So you know that they're watching you. And if you are on point every single day doing it.
She had no support.
Yeah, I had no support.
And I wasn't like in the picture. This was years ago. She had no support. She had no support from her spouse, who she was married to at the time. Family, and people are thinking that she's crazy. She's wacko. She's doing that. Are you still doing that fruitarian thing or that raw vegan thing? She wrote her books and she like completely changed her entire life. Our minds are so powerful. You know, so definitely that is huge.
Yeah, and I just wanted to be the example for people, and I wanted to help people. So that was my motivation to stay raw, even though I didn't have support.
Because there's a bunch of us out here that are, you know, plant-based or even like high carb, you know, like there's all the different labels, high carb, low fat, raw vegans. There's all these different, so there's people that you can tap into this system, you know, the social media system, and you can, you know, just kind of like give a little shout out, like you're looking for a little inspo, and people are... There's a lot of people that want to help.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally. So we've got, how long did it take you before you finally went fully raw? And what was the shift for you? What mindset changes to get you to start and stay raw? So you can watch this whole video on our tips on how to stay raw. But for me, I discovered raw veganism in about 2004. And it took me 10 years of trying like off and on because my you know, like I said, I didn't have the support. I would try, and then, you know, family events or whatever, I would fall off. I would be eating too high fat. I was eating like handfuls of nuts and avocado every day and mixing it with fruit and causing insulin issues. And then I was like, well, I guess raw vegan's not for me because I couldn't do it. Plus I was calorie restricting, trying to lose weight. It was just a mess, and I would fall off. I think the longest I went was about 2 months on raw, but most of the time it was like 3 days and then I would stop. But so it took me a decade before I decided that I wanted to do low fat for once, because I was indoctrinated to believe that we needed high fat, working in the natural health industry that was pumped to us.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm just going to try this low fat. It's not going to kill me. Fully Raw Christina's been doing it forever at the time, right? I was like, I might as well try it.
That was your inspo right there.
Yeah. So I read the 80-10-10 diet by Doug Graham, and I took that information and applied it to my own life in my own way, because I eat raw differently than other people do.
Right.
So yeah.
Kind of put your own spin on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
more salads.
every body is a little different, and some people, you know, might act a little bit better if they have a little more garlic in their life than no garlic at all.
What if you happen to overdo it on the fats halfway through the day? Can you put your ratio back to 80-10-10 by the end of the day? That's a really good question. I try to save my overdoing it of fats to the end of the day so that I'm eating them with greens. So if you're going to have like the raw cheesecake or the cheese loaf or whatever, cashews galore, I would save them to the salad point. But if you do happen to have it, and I mean, we've done it before, I would honestly try to keep dinner low glycemic. So lots of greens, a lower fat dressing. If you're going to do fruits, to do berries or apples or no fat dressing. And keep it really, really low fat so that you can balance out for the day. The next day, I would probably stick to lower glycemic stuff, just so you don't, because if you have excess fats running through your system, sometimes if you're doing like tropical fruits, it can spike, like you can feel that a little bit. Right. So sticking to like the apples, pears, berries, greens realm can be on the lower glycemic range until the fat kind of dissipates. It takes a day or two, right? Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I would do.
Just go no fat the next day, maybe.
Thank you guys. Lissa, your videos are helping me so much. 9 days raw. Congrats.
Awesome. Excellent work.
Cutting down the fat has been the hardest for me. I love my cashew dressings. And you can still have them. Just have them in smaller amounts.
Yeah, cashew dressing is so good.
Can 80-10-10 be 80% fat? No, that would be considered a keto, close to keto, and we disagree with keto diets. They are only sustainable short term. Sure, you can lose weight. Sure, you can mask diabetic symptoms, but the high fat is not what our bodies want.
Not the way we should be rolling.
No, definitely not. What do you think of eating 2 meals raw and 1 cooked? Now, if you want to do that, that's totally your prerogative. If you're going to do the cooked meal, though, like if it was me, I would have half the meal raw with a small amount of cooked. Like 1 little sweet potato or like a cup of rice, but the rest all raw. So you're eating most raw and not as much.
Kind of pushing that other stuff off your plate.
Just have a little bit just to whatever if you need that.
All right. Excellent. 19 days raw. Man.
19! Awesome!
That is so amazing. Good. That is so amazing. Good. How you feeling? And then Trey says, not to sound cheesy, no pun intended. Eat your inspo. Yeah, awesome.
Aw, thanks,
Keep
Trey.
your circle tight really helps me. Yes, definitely. Keeping your circle tight.
Yeah, and keeping your Instagram feed full of vegan stuff.
Yeah, don't get the other stuff in there. Sometimes I'm like, gosh, I really like this person. He's a friend of mine or she's a friend of mine, but they're always showing like a really delicious looking, plant-based, cooked, not healthy vegan meals. I can't have them in there, man. I'm like, all right, I just don't even want to see this. Not that I'm scrolling through all the time, but when I see that, like, you know, whatever, it might cause something within myself to say, you know, maybe
I should do it.
Maybe
too.
That really looks good.
We're very influenced by our surroundings,
or negative things in your feed. You're, you know. Yeah,
that's hard. You got to clean up your feed.
Okay, so feeling bloated but good. Hey, you're doing awesome. 19 days epic. So now check this out. What we were talking about, which we say, you know, often, is it takes a while to have the body adapt to eating such high fibrous food. You're used to eating, you know, a lot of cooked food. There's not a lot of fiber. You're cooking a lot of the water out of it. You're going to have some bloating. And literally, like 2 years from me, 4 years for Lissa, and I feel even the people who've been, 10 plus years still get a little bit of bloating depending on food combination.
Stress. Sitting for hours without moving.
Like if you're on a plane ride or a train ride or something, you're sitting a lot. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of part of it. A little gassy here or there, but definitely not a reason to fall off. It's kind of interesting because we've watched a few videos about some of the other influencers that are, going back to eating animal products from being vegan. And vegan being a lifestyle choice, ethical choice, not necessarily vegetarian where you don't want to eat the dead animals, but you still eat cheeses and stuff. But when you kick out and have something happen, say you're raw and you're having something happen like the bloating, you could kind of mess with yourself mentally and think, I don't think this is for me because I've been bloated. I'm bloated every single day. And then you stop. And so what's happening is you've got gut bacteria, gut flora, and you're not necessarily feeding when you're eating high cooked food, lots of cooked foods, even if they are plant-based, you're not feeding those bacteria, those soldiers in there that can break down that fibrous raw food. So the more raw food you feed yourself, you're starting to kind of not necessarily kill off the other bacteria, but they're like, hey, we're out of here because there's not very much work for us to do, and you're going to build the other guys that are going to help break down that fibrous food.
And it takes time. So
Definitely
you're doing
time.
Great. You're doing
Excellent
great.
Job. Excellent job.
Everybody loves these lives. They want us to do more. And this one, you giggle more when you're with him. I was
it's way more fun.
It's
way more fun.
Insanely happy with him.
I don't do hardly anything. I don't do any lives when I'm by myself. I don't story all the time. I don't post a lot. She really helps inspire me to stay more regular and on point with things. That's for sure.
I'm glad I do. Do you guys have any tips on getting kids raw vegan?
That's a good thing. So now what we were saying earlier, go ahead. What do you got?
Oh, I was going to say get them involved.
Yes,
get them to switch the... We are the same.
Get them in the kitchen.
Get them in the kitchen.
Bring them to the store. Make it fun. Picture. Tell them. All right, let's picture. We're going to make a delicious smoothie. And we're going to also have some. A really good salad. What kind of vegetables do you want in your salad? What kind of fruit do you want in your smoothie? Make it fun. Have them open the door to the freezer and pick out the frozen fruit, even though the frozen fruit isn't necessarily considered completely raw, right?
Unless you freeze it yourself.
It yourself. But that shouldn't stop you. You should just get that frozen fruit. Go to Costco or whatever. Get the organic, fruits. It's really cheap. And make it fun for them. Definitely. The more fun you make it for them, let them push the buttons.
Yeah, let them turn on the Vitamix. Let them scoop it out. Right. And also have them plan the meals. Offer them maybe 2 or 3 different ideas and say, what do you want to help me make tonight? Or have them
pick out pictures. What's your favorite? And then if their favorite's macaroni and cheese, okay, how can we make a macaroni and cheese meal that's healthy? It's going to taste different because if you've had Kraft macaroni and cheese when you're a kid, boom, you're you have, chemicals within you that is going to know that if you're eating zoodles with a cheesy sauce, it's not going to be anything near the real Kraft macaroni and cheese. But I think definitely making it fun is key.
Yeah, that's key. That's key. And then finding foods that they like. If they like oranges, let them eat oranges.
And the colors is so good.
This is a good one. I really want to answer this one.
Okay, so do we only need to focus on percents or do we need to take into consideration grams? I track in Chronometer and carb consumption was almost 300 and I started to get really nervous coming from the IC.
Not sure what that means,
LC.
but...
This is huge.
Yeah, the thing is, like I was talking about earlier, is that if you're eating 1,200 calories a day, 10% of that is only 13 grams of fat. So you don't really necessarily want to look at grams because 10% is different depending on how many calories you're eating a day. So 10% of 3,000 calories is 300 calories from fat, or I think it's 35 grams. Yeah, so you're eating more fat at 10% if you eat more calories. Yeah. So that's how you can kind of tell the difference between that. And your carbs is fine.
Low carb, okay.
Yeah, coming from low carb. Okay, Thank you for that. Yeah, if you're eating 300 grams of carbs and they're coming from fruits and vegetables, I would say you're totally fine. You're golden. As long as you stay on the 10% fat range, in around there, give or take, you're fine. I eat some days I think it's 700 grams of carbs a day.
I did a Chronometer today and I think it was up towards that too.
Yeah.
Super, super high carb. And it was really fascinating because it's I'm getting an amazing amount of calcium, an amazing amount of iron. I'm getting, almost double of what I need the recommended daily amount as a man for protein.
Yeah, I know,
beautiful.
it's awesome. So when you're coming from low carb, you're eating high fat. Sorry, I don't want to mess you. You're eating high fat. You are basically forced to limit your carbs down.
Yeah.
That's the only way keto works. If you're eating high fat, you are forced to limit your carbs. And that's why they limit them to 20 to 50 grams a day. But if you eat low fat, you can eat all the carbs that you feel satiated to eat. Like you can eat as many as you want.
And this is another really important thing is understanding, the two spectrums of having your body being ketosis as opposed to being fueled properly by what its desired fuel source is, which is the glycogen from the carbohydrates. Mm-hmm. Our bodies thrive on that. That's what we burn. We burn the energy we burn is burning from carbohydrates. So when you're cutting off that supply of carbohydrates, that's also not going to be necessarily sustainable over time. Mm-hmm. I did keto before I was vegan, before I was plant-based, for about 9 months. And I was really strict with it. And I lost a lot of weight. I lost almost 60 pounds. I was exercising like crazy. But I was also taking a lot of supplements. And I had really, really horrible, bowel movements.
And your arm would fall asleep.
My oxygenation, like literally if my arm was bent like this for a while, just like laying in bed, my hand would go to sleep. So I don't know. I mean, everybody has their own, thing, and maybe some people are living like, keto for a long time. I was doing it because I wanted to be as healthy as I could. And then I started to learn like, whoa, actually, I think I'm doing myself a way huger disservice being keto. And then, at that time, my mom was healing herself, with a raw food diet. And I met that guy 8 months later. It took 8 months. I already watched my mom heal herself, and it still took me 8 months to adopt that raw lifestyle. It's really tricky.
It is tricky.
To go, from eating cooked food your entire life to going, wait. You don't eat any cooked food? Nothing? No cooked food? Mm-hmm. It's a whole, it's a different mindset for sure. But it is totally possible. Yeah. And, like we say, we're one of the only species. We are the only species, actually, that cooks their food. We are the only species. Now, some could argue, that's, why we're so smart and that's why our brains are big or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, there's all these different things. I just want to feel good, and I don't want to be... I don't want to be sick.
Exactly. So, and more questions. Do you take probiotics? I do sometimes. I'll do around a bottle of them. I also ferment. We eat ferments like kimchi and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's good.
Definitely.
This one here's a good question. I was told today that being vegan or raw vegan is the most unhealthy lifestyle out there, and I will have to take a bunch of supplements to feel well. Completely not true. The top researched diets are for reversing heart disease. The number one diet is a vegan diet. So I mean, if it's going to reverse heart disease,
literally, and there's so much information and scientific, data backing that and showing you actual pictures and coming from the cardiac unit, like. I'm not a nurse, but I did see a lot of things, and I did see people's, lab work, when they went plant-based, man, that really turned their whole scene around. Yeah.
And also, it depends on what kind of a vegan or a raw vegan diet you're eating. If you're eating a raw vegan diet with lots of dehydrated foods and high fat and not enough calories, then you're going to lack nutrients, you're going to lack energy, you're going to feel crappy. If you're eating a junk food vegan diet, or you're doing a lot of cheat days or cheat meals or whatever just because it's vegan, does not mean it's healthy. So you can be an unhealthy meat eater omnivore with who eats vegetables. You can also be an unhealthy junk food vegan, or even if you're just eating healthy 3 or 4 days a week, and then on the weekends you're eating whatever, you're still like giving yourself a disservice. You're not giving yourself the best potential, like self-love.
Because like if we were to pick a number between 1 and 10, and 10 being the best you could feel, 1 being the worst you could feel, or maybe we should say 1, because 1's always the number best, or where do we want to be on that scale? Like probably not very many people are like, that's cool, I'm good with a 6, I'm good with a 7 actually. And if you are, then that's cool, because everybody has their own thing, everybody's here on their own journey. Definitely. I know that personally, I want to be a 10, man. And I'm not a 10 yet. Like, I'm still trying to fine tune certain things. I'm working on it. I definitely need to incorporate more exercise, more yoga, which is good stretching. That's what yoga is. It's the way that I picture it. It's mind-body connection. You're in your body and you're moving your body. This is a good one here, too. I fail at maintaining raw during the winter. End up eating cooked veggie meals from November through February. What are your tips through raw in the winter time.
Well, I have some of my top tips because I live in the
She
frozen
lives in the
tundra.
tundra. It's like 20 below zero out there or something ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's cold. But my top tips are don't eat things right out of the fridge. So most of my produce stays on the counter, like cucumbers, tomatoes,
yeah.
bell peppers.
Lettuce, of course, is in the fridge.
Yeah.
And now another tip for the lettuce is you can rinse your lettuce in kind of like warmer water. Not like hot water, but it kind of like, whatever. It's not going to be a hot salad.
Yeah, it brings the temperature back a little
it just
bit.
balances a little bit.
So we want to make sure that we're not eating things out of the fridge because that will make us colder. And also using the Vitamix or the dehydrator to warm up meals or bowls,
soups.
plates, and stuff like that.
Yeah, man, if you warm up your plate in the dehydrator and you also have, say, like, we do like the mushroom marinara, I heat up my zoodles in the dehydrator and then the marinara is hot. Like, it's literally, if you, do it too long in the Vitamix, you'll actually cook it. That whole meal it's a warm meal. I mean, I consider it a hot meal, realistically.
Yeah, and it's not hot to the tongue. It's just warm. It's nice. Yeah. It's like sun warmed, really. Yeah. That's a temperature we want.
Like also some warm, lemon water or something like that. Some lemon ginger water teas, herbal teas or something, just to kind of warm the system up if you're really craving that. But another thing too is eating enough. If you're not eating enough, man, you're going to be cold. Your body's
your metabolism down regulates. So you're actually you're not burning as many calories as you would because your body is like, okay, we're going to hibernate now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really hard. And I have another book. It's the Have a Winter Raw Food Romance, which has a lot of winter. It's over there somewhere.
It's a good book too.
Yeah, and a lot of spices. So think of like Thanksgiving spices. We've got rosemary, sage, thyme, garlic, cardamom, cinnamon, and all of those like warming fall spices because they stimulate circulation and they can help you stay warm.
Yeah, and do wall headstands if you do not like, a yogi and you don't
100 squats.
Headstands.
Do that.
Yeah, do some exercise in between folding laundry or something. Like do some jumping jacks. Do some planks or even do some wall handstands. And that's really going to help regulate your blood pressure. You're getting upside down every single day. That's a key thing. And I need to take my own advice because I don't do this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But
I know. We all have things to improve on for sure.
It's a nonstop journey forever.
Is the French dressing good with just lemon if you don't do well with apple cider vinegar? 100%. You can totally do it with just lemon juice.
I do it with just lemon juice. I don't do it with the apple cider vinegar. And I also make her sour cream without the apple cider vinegar too. I just use lemon. I just use a little extra lemon. So Peas, Love, and Joy says, oh, good, because I really like your French dressings. And...
You can't eat all those dates.
I know.
Can I eat all those dates? Yes, you
can. Yes.
Do you guys ever eat papaya seeds for parasite cleansing or ever wonder if you have any inside of you, what to eat to cleanse them? Yeah. I am sort of on the fence with the whole parasite thing. I believe that we can have them for sure, but I don't do the papaya seeds and I don't do cleanses because I just feel like my body is dealing with it on its own because I'm eating so clean all the time. That said, definitely you can do a parasite cleanse if you feel like that's something that you might need.
Now, I definitely picture we have parasites.
Oh, yeah.
Yeast, mold, fungus, candida, body fat, actual worms. These are all living within us and they thrive by being fed. And so there's where the cravings are coming from. You see that donut that they brought in because it's Janine's birthday over there. Those parasites, I feel like, are neurologically connected to us saying, yo, man, you've eaten clean all week long. Just go get that donut. You've done good. That's the parasite. In my mind, that's the parasite talking. Yeah. And so I really think that, it's a good thing to take that into consideration. But that being said, if you cut off the parasite's food supply...
Yes.
Boom. The parasite has no other way besides going, yo, we got to bounce, man. There's no food coming in here. Like, yo, homies, let's roll. And then they're out. Like, you will pass them. That's just how I picture
I agree, too. Like, I find that I didn't need to do any kind of a parasite thing or any of that.
I didn't do a cleanse either.
Yeah,
But if we all have parasites. If you've eaten fish, if you've eaten pork, if you've eaten steak, if you've eaten any of these kind of foods.
Especially raw.
It doesn't even matter whether they're cooked or not. You have parasites. We have them. And thank the heavens that designed us that we do have them, because we would be so up the creek without a paddle if we didn't have these parasites in us to help clean all of the dead matter that we're putting in, because these parasites, they feed and they thrive off of dead matter. They sit at the cardiac sphincter right below the stomach, and they're the first ones getting fed, you guys. They eat before we eat. So if you cut off their food supply, which the best way to cut off their food supply is to go back to nature's way and eliminate all cooked foods, They have no choice. They've got nothing to eat.
They like the processed stuff.
They like
sure.
the processed, and they like the dead food. The dead food being the cooked food. This is the mindset that I have. Some may disagree, but I feel that the cooked food, literally there's no life in that food at all.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
very, very small amount of micronutrients you might be getting from these cooked foods. They're satiating, and we're definitely getting a dopamine release, so we feel amazing. We just had a whole plate of potatoes. I know Lissa and I would probably feel amazing for for right here, it would feel
this
amazing.
area
And then
right
after
here.
that we would like look at each other, do you feel good? Yeah, you feel good. And an hour later we'd be like, oh my God.
It's so true.
Yeah.
But, I mean, everyone's going to be different, and
Yep.
you're going to play around with whatever
Totally.
you feel best at. And we like to be raw, so that's why we're raw. Is one avocado a day too much fat? Asking for a friend. It is if you're eating very low calorie. I like to stick to half an avocado a day, and I share it with Nate. So what you could do is also cut your avocado in half, use half for your salad, and make like a guacamole or like a creamy thing with the other half, and save
Yeah.
it for tomorrow.
Good.
If you want to split that up.
I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, here, peas, love, and joy. Do you got something over there?
got
Appreciate
lots.
all the YouTube and IG stuff you guys do. That's excellent. Appreciate the Q&A because this stems from the literature. Special thank to you, Lissa. All right. And okay, what do you got?
I got eating raw. Do you guys ever get sick?
Well, you know, to tell you the truth, I have yet to be sick since going raw, and I didn't really get sick a lot before I was raw, but I did get sick. The last time that I was really, really sick with the flu was 2012, January 2012, and that was actually when I started to kind of really geek out laying in bed for a week on YouTube's on the healthiest people and the healthiest diets, right? But man, this lifestyle, living a raw food lifestyle, is not a end all, be all, heal all, like immune to everything. Totally can get sick still.
Yeah.
Stress on your body.
Stress, like, yeah, and I haven't been sick in 4.5 years, except for there was one time I did a 3-day dry fast, which I won't be doing again. Just to do it for the whole point was just for the experience
kicks and
of
giggles,
it.
yeah.
I got sick after I did that, and I was, I had come off doing a lot of work, and I had just come back from visiting Nate, so it was lots of travel in there, lots of work that happened.
Our
and
bodies
then I was
can be
like,
depleted,
no.
even if we're eating like super dialed, like our whole system is super dialed because we're eating everything, like chronometer is showing us that we're getting everything we need. Those environmental stresses still can take a toll on us for sure. And we're not immune to different viruses and stuff that are surrounding us all the time. I mean, we live in an era, in a world that we're surrounded by it all the time. The best thing, of course, is to have the strongest immune system. And that's another reason why we want to live this way, is because we want a strong immune system. We want to be able to fly on a plane to another country and go to another country and walk around that other country, sit in the dirt, and not have to worry about like, oh my gosh, like we're sick,
Yeah.
And I have friends and family members that get sick. Like I'm telling you, every other month they're sick.
Yeah,
But of
I
course,
used to be sick every 2
but of
months.
course, yeah, they're
before I
treating
went raw.
themselves completely, they're not like holding themselves in high regards. So now check this out. This is a really good one here. Thanks for all what you're doing. Hey, we love you guys. Thank you. And do we take B12? Heck yes.
Yes!
We take B12.
Definitely. We take B12, vitamin D. We like to take vitamin K2 and sometimes iodine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Iodine, very, very important.
Yeah.
Very,
I
very
don't do
important.
it every day, but I do
Not
make
every
sure
day,
I get
but
it.
it's super important, you guys. Iodine, however you want to say it, is super important. B12 is super important. Let's talk a little bit about B12. Let's touch on it just for a sec.
Go for it.
Go ahead. What do you got?
Well,
good. She's so
B12 is actually, B12 and vitamin D are actually environmental vitamins. So we think as a society, we've got 2 minutes remaining. So if you guys want to come back
that's right.
onto the live, we will restart it again after 2 minutes. Actually, we should just restart it now.
Sure.
So,
How do you do that?
Oh my gosh, we've got so many comments.
Oh, so sorry, you guys.
Okay, you guys, if we didn't answer your question, come back. Right now, we're just going to stop this live feed and we will restart. So please type your answer or your questions in. Like, what do you think of soy? Do you use a distiller? Miso paste? Like, you guys have so many questions here that we weren't able to get to.
Yep.
But rewrite them. If you want us to answer them, we will be right back in like 30 seconds.
Okay, here we
All
go.
right?
Here we go. And
All right, and live back.
all right, here we go. Here we go. Round 2.
Round 2. We get really excited when we do these. May I have
It's so
some?
fun. Yes, please. Have some.
Yeah, we get so. high off
Love
doing
your
these.
little toes. Oh, little toes are so cute. Okay, here we go.
All right, so we are going to talk about B12.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
It's okay.
They only give you an hour on
Yeah,
this
they only
thing,
give
I
you
guess,
an hour on Insta Live, so yeah. But so I wanted to talk about B12 and vitamin D because people seem to think that a vegan diet is deficient in B12 and D.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is that all diets are deficient in B12
Every
and
single
D,
diet.
but it's not the diet that we should be getting these vitamins from.
Right.
These are environmental vitamins. Yeah. So it's not necessarily the diet that's deficient. It's our environment that's deficient because we're not digging around in the earth
We're not,
every day
we're not
eating dirt. We're not in the soils. We're not out in the sunshine every day, especially living out here.
Antibacterial everything, washing everything, we're scrubbing our vegetables and stuff because we don't know what's on it. So
everything's sterilized, sanitized, everything. We're living in these big buildings, no access to wild earth or streams of water.
And one positive where we are at this point in time in our evolutionary, process here of life is we have been able to refine certain things that we do need that are essential, which a B12 vitamin, like, you can be dialed for like $6 a year.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it.
I know, it's totally worth it to get those
like, it's not going to hurt. We don't need to geek out necessarily unless you have a deficiency where you're like, I got to get more B12. Like, you don't necessarily need to roll like that. I personally take one B12 a week.
Yeah, we only need 2,500 micrograms of it a week. So if you can take like 1, 2, or even 3 of the 1,000 micrograms, every second day, like it's really,
and
you don't need a lot.
If you're able to get like lab tests done, that's a great thing to do because then you can, this is a machine, right? So if we can get this machine tested to make sure that we aren't deficient in something or that we're like, we have too much of one thing, that's key as well.
Yeah. And we're just not out there. Our modern life doesn't, like someone mentioned here, the medical medium says, like, if you pick fruits and vegetables wild, yes, that's going to have the bacteria on it that produces the B12.
Yeah.
But they did a study where they had clinically deficient vegans who were clinically deficient in B12, and they studied all of them were making B12. They had the bacteria making it. They were just making it so low in the colon that they weren't able to absorb it. So what they did was they made like a fecal supplement basically of their own stool and they took it internally and there it was able to be absorbed in the smaller intestine. Amazing. And the bacteria was able to regrow and all of them like got out of their deficiency.
That's an amazing. It would be cool if we could put that link in so you guys could see it.
I don't know
these studies are amazing.
But it was on Dr. Greger's website, but also not like it was something crazy. When I was reading this statistic, something like 90% of all the B12 that is created for supplement is fed to cattle and livestock.
Isn't that wild?
So if you are eating meat, you're indirectly getting it from a supplement anyways.
Yeah.
So yes, the rosacea question, that's what I wanted to answer. My wife has rosacea. Can a vegan lifestyle help her? Now, a vegan lifestyle, and especially a high raw or all raw vegan lifestyle, is definitely going to help people. Now, I can't say guaranteed that it's going to get rid of it. Rosacea is a tricky one. And if you are, like, if you don't go vegan or raw vegan, what's the alternative? You're going to stay eating whatever you're eating that are causing the problems. You're going to, so there's not any disadvantage to going vegan or high raw. Yeah. None at all. You're just going to be giving your body way more nutrition and it's going to be so much better than the alternative. Yeah. So even if it doesn't heal her rosacea, at least she's doing her body some self-love.
And another thing too is maybe we're designed to move. So a rebounder or a lymphocyzer is a really good thing too. Maybe if I'm not sure if she's moving a lot, but that might help as well. High raw, super hydrating, no oil. If you can, no oil, no sugars, none of that funky stuff, none of the processed stuff, and bounce on the rebounder. Not sure the age or, her flexibility or whatever, but getting her body moving. Yeah. Possibly her lymphatic system is just kind of stagnant, and then that's showing up. It's all the same disease. Doesn't matter what you have in the system, outside of the system, on your skin, internally. It's basically stemming from one disease, which is
improper self-care.
And
genetics show that more so.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah.
And stagnant septic system, which is the lymphatic system. We don't really hear much about it. In this community, we definitely hear more about it. But it's really wild how like even dry brushing, getting one of those brushes and just have her dry brush. And there's charts on how to dry brush. You want to always be brushing towards the heart, stimulating.
Dry brush your face too.
Yeah, stimulating the skin. Man, those kind of things, I think that definitely could, benefit. But rosacea is a tricky one.
Do you use a distiller? I don't right now. When we move in together, we will be getting a distiller.
We use a distiller after my mom's kidney cancer and the different things that she learned about, kidney issues. A distiller is a great thing because basically the kidneys are our own distillers. So if you are drinking distilled water, that's less work on your kidneys. And man, not to mention, after you drink distilled water, it's so delicious.
Oh, it's
Everything
so nice.
tastes nasty after distilled water. Now, even spring water, there's mixed emotions about spring water and distilled water, but our body necessarily can't process certain minerals and they can accumulate. So it's kind of cool, the concept of having a complete sterile water.
Yeah, and we get our minerals from our fruits and vegetables anyway.
We're not living, back in the day where we had like clean water and just, stuff's different nowadays. We have to. So what's the importance of vitamin K2? Trey says,
okay, so K2 is a vitamin that is produced from K1, which is found mostly in leafy greens. So what happens is there's another bacteria in our gut. This is like so important, guys.
The gut.
Number one is your gut. If your gut bacteria is balanced, then a lot of stuff, like even the rosacea, got to get that gut balanced is so important by high raw, lots of fiber and probiotics. Are help. But anyways, so you get this bacteria, it's a specific bacteria, I'm not sure the name of it, but it converts K1 into K2. And K2 is necessary for healthy teeth, bone, nail, hair formation, mainly bones and teeth. So a lot of people who are fruitarian who experience dental issues have low amounts of vitamin K2 because they can't actually form proper teeth, right? So we want to have K2 with D3 to help with the healthy teeth and bones. So that's basically what the K2 is. And we don't know, one round of antibiotics can wipe out that colony. So we don't know if we're making it or not. And I don't think there's any tests from what I'm aware of that you can get tested. But do you eat any beans? Yes, we do. We are pro-bean, but we eat sprouts. Now, I've read a lot in Dr. Michael Greger's book, How Not to Die. He is so pro-beans that he requires 3 servings a day for his daily dozen. But we do sprouts in place of just canned cooked beans.
Sprouts are powerful.
They fill you up.
They're loaded with all kinds of healthy stuff.
Yeah, the B vitamins go through the roof once they're sprouted. The vitamin C goes through the roof once they're sprouted. The phytic acid is released once it's sprouted. There's just so many benefits to sprouting them.
The protein content is amazing. It's through the roof. There's more protein in alfalfa, a handful of alfalfa sprouts, than there is in a 8-ounce steak.
Alfalfa sprouts. Go for it. This is so fun. It is so fun. Love doing this, you guys.
We do.
B12, cyano, or methyl. I prefer methyl. Do you use MyFitnessPal? No, I personally use Chronometer. That's my favorite.
We got here.
Chronometer.
Yeah, Chronometer. Extra irritable since I started a raw a few weeks ago. Is this detox thing? Well, the cravings lessen over time. So we just kind of touched up on this just a moment ago, which I feel like it's going to take some time to rewire the circuitry up here and rewire what's going on down in the gut for sure. The cravings should subside. Just stick with it. If you're rocking it, give yourself 90 days. 90 days it's going to take 90 days to learn how to prepare these certain dishes and to shop. And it's also going to take at least 3 months to start to grow those good guys down there that are going to help decompose or digest the fibrous foods. If you're not eating a high raw diet and those cravings, basically, we were talking about the parasites, you're cutting off their food supply. Yeah. These guys are PO'd down there. They're yelling and screaming and they're like, ripping off their hats and throwing down the papers. They're frustrated because you cut off their food supply. So stick with it. They will eventually bounce. They'll roll. Like you'll pass them. And if you do toy with your stool, not many people do, like with a strainer, you'll be surprised at what you find.
Some people just pass them. But another thing I wanted to ask is to make sure that you're eating enough, because it doesn't matter what diet you're on. If you're not eating enough, you're going to be irritable.
Majorly.
track your calories. And I know a lot of people don't like tracking their calories, but when you start raw, you have to track because we don't know. Like these little salads, we're like, oh, I'm going to fill up on this little salad.
It's not how
you
it
need
used
like
to be.
4 times the amount.
And then you're eventually going to, create, it's going to be easier to eat these big mixing bowls full of salad. But definitely, if you're not eating enough, that's another thing that's going to make you irritable. Low blood sugar.
Hangry.
You're going to get hangry. So it's kind of a multitude of things, but stick with it. Yeah. Give yourself 3 to 6 months to kind of basically redesign your insides.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
I heard that North American grocery stores have low quality fruits and veggies. Where do you get your produce? I get my produce wherever I get my produce. I am basically kind of forced to because I can't just get up and move to Costa Rica. I'd love to,
right.
But we don't live there. So growing your own greens is extremely important if you're able to. But most of us, I live in a high-rise apartment. I do have a tower garden. It's not on right now. But there are things that you can do to get better produce. But honestly, I would rather see people eat as much as they can and get as much raw foods in them as they can wherever they are. Nothing is going to be perfect. We cannot be perfect.
And I like to think of, Chris Kendall. He's a super rock star, and he's been raw foodie up here in Canada in the cold tundra for over 14 years. And he's, for me, because he's kind of the same age, he's super healthy, and he's someone that I kind of look to. And man, it can be done. Definitely. It's a mindset thing. We can really, I call it mental masturbation. We can really mess with ourselves up here. I can't get everything organic. Okay, I'm not going to do this. Let's just get the pizza tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, we can scare ourselves out of it because we want to be perfect, but in the reality, there is no perfect diet. There's no perfection. We're always seem to be striving for this perfection. And if you feel like you fall short, that stress alone is bad for you too. So just, chill and do what you can, do the best you can, because that's the most important.
Yeah. And then someone says here, be careful when dry brushing on the face with rosacea. So yes, be careful, you guys, there.
Yeah, you can still, with a softer
it's more just
brush
to get
or whatever, just to get the circulation going.
Exactly.
But yeah, it just depends on how severe it is and all of that. I found, as I was, I dry brush, and it helped with my acne in the beginning when I first went raw. Yeah. So it really depends. You don't want to irritate, obviously. Right. But yeah.
What's up, Linda? Love you.
What do you think of miso paste or soy? Ooh. We eat miso paste.
Ooh. I had miso paste tonight in the dressing that I made. I just was kind of craving that salty, I wanted a little salt. So I threw a tablespoon of miso paste in the dressing that we had tonight, and it was delicious.
So good. But we also don't do soy, so other than the miso paste. Yeah. So it's just the fermented soy. But otherwise we just eat that. But
so what kind of distiller do we recommend? I think that I don't really know the brands. My mom is the one who has a couple of them, and she ended up hooking us up with one, and I'm not sure the brand of it, but I think most distillers, you get what you pay for. I've always said that, hearing that from my dad and grandfather, you get what you pay for. So if you're going to buy the cheapest one, it might get you by, but it's an investment.
Especially, that's so true. Do you have any suggestions for what to take to the movies to eat? I feel emotionally connect the whole experience with getting popcorn, soft drink.
That's a huge one.
That is a big one. It's going you created this belief system by doing that every time. So now you want to break that and just keep it as a fond memory and be like, I remember when I had popcorn. It's so good. But now I don't do that anymore. Yeah. It's just traditions. We create the tradition of hanging a stocking on Christmas or putting up trees.
Or even putting up a tree.
Yeah. We just create these traditions every single year because we do the same thing. So we need
to create a new tradition.
So you could take kale chips. You could take
if
dried
you're allowed
fruit.
to even bring stuff in the movies.
Yeah. For the most part, I don't do anything when I'm at the movies. I just kind of chill, but
I had popcorn with my kid when I went, and I was raw, and I was like, I'm going to eat some popcorn. Let's just see what's up, And oh my God, my mouth felt like it was raped. I felt horrible, So yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to do that anymore. But I have brought in some pumpkin seeds, and some
sprouted pumpkin seeds.
They're sprouted pumpkin seeds. They're the Go Raw brand. They're so delicious, as well as date roll. A date coconut roll. Sometimes I'll smash a couple of those in my pocket.
Dried mangoes you can take too.
I think we've brought dried mangoes before. So you have to create a new tradition. You got to go, all right, how can I work this? And not to mention, like, man, those guys are really ripping us off. Like, popcorn is so cheap, and it's like $12 for a little bucket of popcorn.
Totally. I eat Sun Warrior protein, which is great. Other raw high protein, low fat sources. Sprouts and greens.
Sprouts
and
amazing.
Greens galore.
Sprouts blow everything out of the water.
Yeah.
From the research that I've done and the books that I've read. So now this one here is a really good one. The emotions are also a lot more raw when you aren't numbing yourself. That is such a key statement. Mm-hmm. And we definitely, that, piggybacks on top of what, the girl was having some issues with, being irritable. Mm-hmm. My goodness. I actually, my emotions were so raw when I went raw that I was like, I can't be with this woman anymore. I was with my partner for 25 years. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I can't be with this individual anymore. Like, she's amazing. She's an amazing woman. Like, I love her dearly forever, but I just couldn't necessarily share the rest of my life with this individual because I'm finding so many things that weren't necessary. And these were just raw emotions. I'm like, mm-hmm. and I'm like, really, I'm breaking down at night. Like, why am I feeling this? Like, from the curb appeal, like, we had like the American dream. We had all the stuff, right? We were super happy from the outside, but the emotional connection, the mental connection, which growing up, like, I wanted more of that. I was not having that. And I couldn't numb it, which I had been doing the entire time through the food. And that is so huge. Definitely.
Yeah. And I feel when you are eating raw, you feel the good like exponentially, but you also feel the bad. Right. But it's part of life.
It is.
It's feeling. And even when we go through stressful times, like we went through some interesting stuff recently, not as a couple, just some interesting other stuff. But it's interesting to go through it, moving through it, realizing that we are feeling all of these things in their raw emotion state because we're not numbing ourselves, and we can't numb ourselves. So we have to feel them, and we are blessed to be able to feel them.
Right.
Because
Definitely.
I didn't like being numb.
No.
It just sucked.
So right here, do you eat all organic?
Ooh, good one.
I don't eat all organic. Lissa doesn't eat all organic. It is very expensive, and we try to really, adhere to the clean 15 and the dirty dozen.
Yeah.
And we do our veggie scrub and we rinse our stuff, but that's not going to stop us. That's not going to stop us from living this lifestyle if we can't eat all organic, because I still feel like within me personally that some herbicides and some pesticides, I know that I'm getting it, and we can be hypochondriacs over these kind of issues, and it can stop us dead in our tracks. And I would rather eat a conventional salad than having a McDonald's breakfast sandwich.
Yeah. And I would also rather have a conventional salad than, say, organic lasagna that's like cooked, like, because you're damaging all the nutrients. Like, there's so many things that come into play.
Yeah, there's so many aspects, and everybody's on their own journey. And like Lissa and I aren't like people who aren't living just like us really suck. We just want people to feel the best that they can, and of course we want to see more people eating more plants, because the more plants that we grow on the planet, the cleaner our planet is. The soil's cleaner, the air is cleaner.
No animals get hurt.
No, and every single vegan meal, whether it's cooked or raw, is an animal saved, or possibly 4 to 5 animals saved, depending on what kind of meal you're eating. Yeah. So definitely the organic thing can stop people, but because how we kind of are naturally is all or nothing. Oh, well, I can't get all organic. I'm not going to even do this, and that shouldn't stop us.
No, it shouldn't stop us. Do the best you can.
Yeah.
Get organic when you can afford it. Of course, it's going to be the better choice, but yeah.
Trying to
You're
scroll to
sleepy.
Oh, Miranda. Hey, what's up, Miranda?
Cuddle time.
Yep, totally. It won't be long.
Do you make your own sprouts? We do make our own sprouts, but for the most part, we like to buy them pre-made because it's just easier that way. But
I have the Fresh Life 3000. Boom! But I really slack on keeping that thing bumping all the time. But it is a super awesome sprouter. You just change the water in the hopper, distilled water, and it waters your sprouts all day long while you're at work doing your thing. And then, 6 days to 10 days later, you have fresh sprouts. But of course, how sprouts are, you got to eat them pretty good and pretty fast. But if you grow your own sprouts in a jar, stuff like that. It's fun. And that's another thing that's fun to engage the kids in. If you've got kids, have them put the beans in the jar, or the sprouted seeds in the jar, and have them rinse them every day, and then they get excited and watch them grow, because it is pretty exciting.
It is pretty cool. Even as adults, I'm like, look at all these little sprouts.
And they're
so
alive.
Cool.
Like, that is true living foods for sure.
Blueberry Basil Drizzle. I just bought your Dips and Dressings book on Kindle. Awesome. Yes, here is my plant-based dips and dressings. The blueberry basil drizzles in there is one of my favorites.
Okay, can we talk about bowel movements being all raw, please? How many should we have a day? Okay, this is a really good one, you guys, because if you're only having one bowel movement, like a day or every 3 days, you're chronically constipated. The way that I like to describe myself is I'm like a hydraulic piece of machinery. Every time I eat, it is going down the tube and pushing out the last meal. So realistically, depending on my comfortability where I am, like if I'm traveling and I'm in a place where I don't have home bowl, I don't know if you guys watch Family Guy, but if I have home bowl, I could have, easily 4 to 5 bowel movements a day, and they're quick. I'm not in there like a long time with the vein popping through my head, really pushing hard. But if I don't have home bowl, sometimes I might only have 1 to 2 bowel movements a day.
Yeah, but I think healthy is 2, 3 is a good average, and everyone's going to be different.
Everybody's going to be a little different, but you definitely want to be eliminating at least once. And I would say 3 times a day, is ideal. Is pretty ideal. Yeah, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner kind of thing.
Totally. What are your thoughts on nutrient absorption? I know some veggies like greens are better cooked for absorption. What are your thoughts? Interesting question. I believe if we were supposed to get more from our foods, nature would have made them like that. So I think cooking them, yeah, sure, we get a little bit more absorption of certain things, but other things are depleted, like vitamin C completely gone, and some of those things like that. Now, I'm not saying you can't cook your food. Go for it if you want to, but I personally prefer to get my nutrition raw. And the whole tomato thing, there is, the whole saying, if you cook your tomato, you get more lycopene. It's not that you get more, there's only a certain amount of lycopene in the tomato. What happens is, say on eating a raw tomato, you're absorbing, we'll say 50% of the lycopene in the raw tomato. But if you're cooking it, people might say, oh, you're absorbing 80% of the lycopene. But the problem is that depending on the cooking method, you're decreasing the lycopene by up to 80%, I've seen, depending on the cooking method. So if you're absorbing 80% of the 20% that's left, it's better to eat the raw tomato.
I think the math is kind of weird.
The math is really weird. And so when you cook, yes, it's more bioavailable, but how much of that nutrient is available for you to absorb?
That's huge.
It's not as much. So really, when it boils down to it, I don't think it's a big deal, as long as you're eating a good variety and lots of greens and
the greens,
other stuff.
Oh my gosh, the greens, the leafy greens are king next to the sprouts.
Yeah, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying that you can't add a little bit of cupped steamed greens if you feel like you want to get more absorption from that. Go for it. Just make sure that you're eating a high raw salad with it.
Mm-hmm. I love the Dips and Dressings book and Winter Romance book. Yes, I love that. I agree. They're such good books.
What's a home bowl? If you go on Family Guy, there is a clip.
YouTube Family Guy home bowl.
Just go YouTube Family Guy home bowl, and
it's funny.
Yeah, it's basically your bathroom, that you feel comfortable in.
Yeah, and when we went to anywhere we go. We have we've got home bowl, we went to a festival and it's we have our favorite bathroom, out of all the, bathrooms, that one's our favorite one.
It's the one where you feel most comfortable.
Yeah, it's just basically
bowel movement.
Yeah, and I feel that kind of helps bowel movements too. Not only massaging the colon and stretching, yoga definitely can help. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the home bowl.
Yeah, if you're trying to poo in a dirty outhouse, that can mess with you.
Sometimes you're just what? I don't really have to go that bad.
So what do you eat when flying, traveling?
This is a good one. Mm-hmm. Now, you guys are allowed to bring
a whole banana box.
A whole case of bananas. That size of a box with you. So you could have that loaded with any kinds of fruits and vegetables you want. And they cannot tell you can't bring that on there.
Yeah.
So I bring
there
not only...
may be some things that they might not. Like green onions, they'll probably take.
Very
oranges,
true. Very
maybe
true.
things without a sticker.
Okay, so we're saying, exactly.
But as for weight or like the amount, you can definitely take a whole box.
Totally. There's certain things they probably... But, celery, dates, apples, oranges, depending if they have a sticker, peel the sticker off just to make yourself safe, because sometimes they want the sticker on. That's what it was. I wasn't able to bring apples back with me from Canada to America because they didn't have the sticker on them, which is kind of funny. Weird, but they're allowed to. You're allowed to bring food with you. They can't deny you your food, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Because
so
say
bring
if
your
you
own
have,
salad.
Yeah, if you have a long flight, I brought a salad with me. I bring avocado, I bring lemon, I bring some dehydrated fruit like mangoes and pineapples and dates, and I also bring some awakened pumpkin seeds.
Awakened. I love that. Sprouted. Yeah, totally awesome. Another thing you can do too, depending on how long your flight is, if it's just a quick short one, fast.
Yeah, just fast.
Just drink a lot of water and take a little bit of a break.
But if you're not used to fasting, fasting can definitely make you irritable because your blood sugar, regulation and all that stuff is kind of, out of whack. So if you're not used to fasting on a long plane ride probably isn't your best bet.
Yeah, you want to keep it to the shorter ones, like the 2-hour plane rides or
totally.
whatever.
Just fast. Don't even have nothing. Now, someone says here, what's your opinion using superfood powders, spirulina, wheatgrass powders, etc.?
Well, we like the Daily Greens Boost.
The
Daily Green one of those Boost. Good ones.
Spirulina is pretty cool in your nice cream or smoothies.
Yep.
I don't really geek out on a lot of the powders as much though, and I know that there's some really good ones because I know that where we have gone in our journey of evolutionary process, we have learned how to refine some of these things and make some really amazing, healthy powders.
Yeah, and I do like the blue-green allergies for the omega-3.
That's key.
Yeah, that's really, really good too. I don't take them every day, but I do take them once in a while. I like E3 Live. I like their Blue Magic because it turns things blue.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
But yeah, I do take that for omega-3s. But we don't push them hard. If you want to take them, like I said, by all means.
Yeah.
So I've got 20% battery left.
Uh-oh.
So if I die, if my phone dies, you guys know. What do you say to friends, family who invite you for dinner but just started on this raw lifestyle and don't feel like telling them yet?
That's a tricky one.
That's a really tricky one.
Because that one, for me personally, made me like, you're kind of embarrassed almost, kind of maybe ashamed. Like, you don't want people to know, like, you want to go eat in the corner.
Yeah.
You don't want people to see what you're doing. But I would say be proud of what you're doing.
Be proud of it. Be honest and step out and say it. Now, I have a quick story. When I was raw in the past, like with my ex, we would go to his parents' house every Sunday night for dinner. And I would always eat before I went, like when I went raw this last time. So I would eat before, go over there, and then I would just sit. I would have like a little salad, whatever they made. But there was one Sunday that I didn't have time to eat before I went. So I made my salad and I took it over there with me. And it was like this massive, gigantic
mixing
thing.
Mixing
bowl full. And they were like, is that for everybody? And I'm like, no, it's just for me. So I forced myself to eat the whole thing because I made extra in case they wanted to try, but they didn't. So I ate the entire thing. From that moment on, they never said anything else.
Yeah.
And it's really standing your ground. Saying no is not negative on them. You're not hurting, like you're not trying to hurt them. You're trying to protect yourself.
Yeah. And we all just want to chew together.
Yeah.
That's how we it's a traditional thing. It goes back, hundreds of thousands of years. We enjoy food together. We're all getting that same, dopamine release, whatever we're eating. And we want to chew together. We want to look over and see our friends chewing. We want to see our families chewing. And how is that? Oh man, this is so good. It's something that is like it's really important to chew together.
Yeah.
But, it shouldn't matter like what we're chewing on necessarily. Of course, it does matter. I shouldn't say that. It really does matter what we're chewing on. But it shouldn't necessarily be a reason for you to be, not showing the people that, this is how the professional people who love themselves do it.
Yes. And when you are going over there all the time and you're saying things like somebody mentioned, I just say I'm on a cleanse. The only issue that I have with that is that if you are going over there often, like if it's just once in a blue moon, sure, whatever. But if you're going over there like once a month and you're always on a cleanse, you have to put yourself in their shoes. If they see you losing weight,
Never
you're always on a
eating.
cleanse, you're never eating, they're going to immediately assume that you're on.
And they're going to
you're
think
having
that
eating
your
disorder.
diet is definitely not a good thing for you.
Because they don't see what you do in your everyday life. So the best thing is to eat in front of them.
Yeah.
Show them you're eating a big giant salad. Show them your...
Bring your blender.
Yeah.
Like, I roll with my cooler and my duffel bag with my blender, and I don't even give a anymore because I'm like, I'm going to bust out the dressing. And I like to make nice cream, especially for the kiddos and stuff, because I don't know, it's just fun to, like, we want to serve people food. Certain people want to serve people food. And I at this point in time, I'm much more proud of what I'm all about and how I'm living.
Time.
It does take time, though.
Even at my family's get-togethers, like, we had, like, 200 family members, and they all eat, like...
All the stuff.
The
standard stuff.
Every single time I'm there with my big salad, they always make comments like, "You're going to eat all of that?"
And
yep,
it's funny
you know
how
I
people,
am.
like you were saying, people didn't even try your salad. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Like, we're so scared almost of trying something that is not, our normal everyday thing.
I know, it's just a salad, guys. No. How often do you add Himalayan salt to your food? I only use like 1/8 of a teaspoon, and it's maybe once or twice a week. If that, I don't really use a lot of it.
Of salt?
Yeah, salt. Yeah.
I don't really use a lot of salt either. But I was craving a little salt today. I don't know what it was. I was just craving that miso.
Yeah.
I wanted a dressing with miso in it,
Let's see.
Yep, and saying you're on a cleanse around strangers or other people, that is a good thing just to cut it. Like, say it's not really, like, you're not going over there. You're going to get together, but they are going to eat. You're like, that's cool. You can...
Or just be like, I ate before. Like, there's so many things you can say.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it is important for our loved ones to know that we are nourishing ourselves, and to see them, for them to see how we're nourishing ourselves, I think is really important, because a lot of times I feel like, and I get comments from friends as well as coworkers, and that they're like, oh, Nate, I should probably be eating that. That looks good,
They're watching you. They see it. They know. They should be doing it,
like,
too.
I've got, like, 2 plates of salad. When I worked at the hospital, I'm like, all right, I'll buy the salad. And it was ridiculous. It was like $18 for these 2 plates of salad, because they go off of weight, And I had a lot of cucumbers and tomatoes on there. But here comes, another coworker who, like, is going to be in the hospital bed here probably this next year. I wouldn't doubt it. And he's looking at my plate, and on his plate, he has probably like 5 to 6 different animal products on his plate. And he's like, I should be eating that. He's like, but I'm not gonna, and not to make fun of him by saying that, but that was like his mentality. It's like, inside that little Jiminy Cricket voice was like, I should be eating that. But he's the parasites. I like to picture the parasites are the ones doing the freaking driving.
Yeah, and it's that right here flavor.
It's the flavor. I know it's so good right here. You're like, oh, the taste, and it's like right here, and it's just delicious, and grease is dripping, and then as soon as it passes here, you're like, what did I do?
I love it. It's so true. Oh, I heard you mention Duolingo. Are you planning a move? No, we just want to improve ourselves, and we want to learn Spanish. So we are learning Spanish.
I wish we were in the Matrix
Right.
with the ability to just like tap the phone back here, or tap it to your wrist or something, and be like, I can speak perfect Greek. But it's not the way it is. This is a really good one too. Dulse flakes instead of salt on salad. Dulse and wakame seaweed, man, they are like so incredibly salty. Those are great things to have for a salt craving.
Yeah, dulse for sure.
So good.
Celery juice is good too. Celery is very high in natural sodium. So
you throw a pinch of wakame seaweed in your dressing, and you're like, whoa, this is salty.
Have you healed any chronic illnesses? I healed chronic acne. I had acne since I was like 17. So it lasted like almost 20 years of my life. It was all
acne.
over. Yeah, so that was healed. I also had chronic joint pain that went away on Raw. I lost 70 pounds.
Yes.
I came out of depression states. I love my life. I'm like on a high with life. Yeah, just like I haven't had anything like labeled, but that's another thing. Like we don't have like, you don't have to get diagnosed. If you feel off and you feel out of balance, that's just your body saying, hey, I need you to look after me and take care of me. You're putting stuff in my body that's not helping. So we want to make sure that we treat ourselves with the utmost respect. And I think personally, I had all the classic symptoms for diabetes. Yeah, I never got tested, but if I did,
you were on your way.
100%, I probably would have had diabetes for sure.
I know, and I used to have this joke, like, if we swallow our own saliva, like basically just swallowing, For 50 years, we're probably going to get cancer because of like everybody is getting something. And then it made me think like, we can't have that bad of a design of a body. Like literally, did we get dealt this kind of a card? No, I don't believe that we did. It's all the stuff that is in our face and what they pump us, what we want. I mean, look at the Happy Meals. Like we were talking about this earlier, for like say a single mom, 3-4 kids, is she going to want to go home and like make some delicious salad or a beautiful dressing for her kids?
Yeah.
Probably going to just stop through Burger King and everybody even gets a toy. It's set up in just such a really ridiculous way, This is a great one here. I just say I'm building my health and have been sick for years. So then people stop asking. Okay, she knows what she's doing. Remember, the people around us is a mirror
of our inner
world.
Yeah.
Man, that is so epic. I love that.
Yeah, on this topic, this one says, I feel so rude when I'm invited somewhere and they used hours to prepare a meal for everyone with love and care, and I'm the only one saying, no thanks, totally. I don't eat that. And
my son,
Well,
I don't mean to interrupt you. My son, we went over to a friend's house and she made this delicious vegan, it was like a stew of some sort, and she used 1 tablespoon of yogurt, and my kid was like, I'm not eating it. He's like, I'm sorry, and I felt this. I'm like, oh my gosh, and I wasn't raw at the time, so I ate it because I was like, I don't want to be rude. But then my kid was like, Dad, it doesn't matter. He's like, it's got yogurt in it. He's like, I don't believe in that. And I'm like, dang, you're so freaking powerful. All right. I'm not going to eat it either,
Yeah, and it's interesting because they just want to feel hospitable.
Yes.
Right? And it does feel rude, but that's because that's just how we've been brought up to feel when we say no. So yeah, I would just say like, I'm sorry, thank you so much. Like, kill them with kindness, give them such big hugs and say, I love that you thought of me, but I'm just going to skip out this time. Thank you for thinking of me, blah, blah, blah. And eventually if you want, you can talk to them aside and be like, if you want me to have some of the stuff you make me vegan like or raw vegan or whatever.
This is the way I like it, and I'll totally love it. And you can do like a date where you get together and you can teach them how you like a certain dressing or a certain item. Because totally, people just want to. And if they took all that time to make something for you, obviously they love you and they want you to
and they're not going to take offense.
Right.
Some people do naturally.
I think this is another great one here. Real quick, a couple of people asked about my ice cream book. So. An ice cream book, I'm hoping right around the end of spring, beginning of summer.
Yeah,
hopefully. That's what my goal is. We have a lot going on, but I'm definitely striving for that, you guys. So when we start becoming confident in what we're doing, people stop questioning in a negative way.
Confidence is so key.
And I think this is a great shirt saying, education before medication.
Oh,
man,
totally, so true.
Who is this? This is Ingla Hops. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm horrible with reading the names.
Yeah, sometimes they're hard to read.
That is such a good one.
Yeah, something I wanted to also mention on that topic is that say you're sober from alcohol and you do not drink alcohol, and somebody made a batch of beer and you go over, what are you going to have some beer just because they made it? You're going to say no because you are choosing this for yourself, and they should technically respect your sobriety and be like, I care so much about you that I don't want you to have my beer because you choose to be sober. It's just really hard to talk about food because food is like, everyone just thinks
it's like right up there with religion and politics, like even more so.
I know, it's crazy.
But it's interesting. It is. It's such an interesting...
So I think I only have like 10% battery left, so I'm just going to quickly go through these last two. How long did you detox when you went raw? I did not do a hardcore detox when I went raw, and I think that's because I eat like way more salads than the typical raw foodie does. So I didn't go through a hardcore detox. I even cut out caffeine and coffee, and I didn't have any withdrawal symptoms. Everyone's going to be different. Everyone's going to go through detox differently, but I don't want you to use detox as an excuse for symptoms that could be deficiencies or a lack of calories or too much fat, because people will get maybe say tired or whatever and they say, oh, it's just detox. But it's maybe they're not eating enough. Maybe they're eating too high fat and all of these other things. So it's not always detox. Just make sure that you take that into consideration.
Huge. And
thoughts on Dr. Sebi's natural food and vegetables versus man-made, which is a good question. Obviously, we want to eat as naturally as possible, but if you can't afford it or find it, I mean... like there's not much we can do. Like,
Yeah.
what are we going to starve because there's not enough of, say, seeded watermelons on the planet? Right? If that was the only thing that you could eat was a seedless watermelon and there was nothing else, I would eat the seedless watermelon.
Definitely.
But we want to take action to try to do better.
Yeah.
But if it's not available, I wouldn't put too much stress on it because that stress is worse for the
Stress
body.
is bad too.
Yeah.
Now, any alternatives to crunchies? They miss the crunchies.
The crunchies,
Yep.
kale chips again. Yep.
Man, the kale chips.
Something that we did, we put dried onion flakes on top of our salad. For like the crunchy, like crouton-y kind of thing.
Dried onion flakes.
Dried onion
I
flakes.
want some of those again right now.
Right? So awesome. It was so good. But
So hubby wants to be raw vegan but hates chewing fruits and veggies, salads. And chewing, I know that's such a huge thing, but that's what this is. This is a masticating machine, and we are also, like excreting certain saliva, powerhouse enzymes to break down these foods. So chewing is so huge. And if he doesn't like chewing, he wants to be raw, he could just do smoothies.
Raw soups.
Raw soups and smoothies more so. Say he's got weak teeth or something rather. He just doesn't like the chewing. Some people have really sensitive teeth, and even just biting into celery or like really crisp lettuce kind of has like a real weird kind of feeling, almost like biting onto a popsicle stick. Chai wants to be in on it too.
Yeah, he was like, hey, I want to be in the video.
So
And now he doesn't.
that's kind of tricky. That's kind of tricky for sure. But smoothies are epic because then he's getting all the fiber rather than say strictly juice, because then you're taking all that fiber out. I'd say, like a balance between the two, and then the soups.
Yeah, and we like to do juice, but we also like it as a supplement to our diet. We don't do like
juice.
all juice.
I would drink a juice every single day.
Yep, juice for sure. Can you do a meal video because I work and go to school, or do you have any suggestions? I do have a video on my channel, my top 4, I think, work lunches, which would be smoothies, just fruit, quick salads. Like, you can buy the pre-chopped cabbage, pre-chopped vegetables, like cherry tomato, like all those easy ingredients. Just throw them all in the thing and blend up a dressing really quick. Or veggies and dip. Like, you can blend a dressing and just take some chopped veggies to work too, or school. Those are my top suggestions for, on the go working.
Yeah. I also have a video on YouTube as well. Like,
how to do it.
how I would do it at work as well. And it's basically the same thing. Just thinking ahead, planning ahead of what you're going to bring. If you've got your dressing already made up and you've got your salads fix and stuff made up, even if it's stuff already pre-cut and it's in bag, you can just throw that stuff in a bowl and you're good to go. Or the smoothies, ice cream. I always revert to ice cream.
I know,
because you're going to get like you
often.
you can have like 500-600 calories in a batch of ice cream, depending on what you put into it. And so now here for the dried onion flakes, the dehydrated onion flakes.
Just plain dehydrated
not
onion.
the granulated or the powder, but the actual like little onion flakes. Those are so good.
And you can make them yourself too. Just chop onion, throw it on the dehydrator, and let them dry.
They
you got your own.
They do work good, but they are really cheap, so a lot of times we buy them. He
So,
loves smoothies. Good.
Can I buy your book in any bookstore? No, you can't. You can only get it off Amazon, Amazon.com, Amazon.ca. I think you can get it off .co.uk and a couple other places. But this is the Dips and Dressings book that you can get. And here is the new meal plan. But yeah, they are only sold off Amazon, and I don't have a book deal. What it is a it's self-publishing. So I basically self-published these books. I did all the photos, all the design, all the everything for these books. And
they feel so nice.
All right, I know they're so pretty. But Amazon prints them on demand. So if you order one, they print it special for you and they ship it out. And that's why they're so expensive, because they're not printing like 50 of them. Unless there's lots of orders. Like right now, there's a lot of orders going through. So this one is about 29% off right now because so many people are buying it.
Screaming deal.
The price goes down
I'd
just
get
based
yours
on
now.
the
If
algorithm.
you guys don't have it, I would get it now. And honestly, like even before, like Lissa and I were talking, and I just wanted to support her because I believe in what she does and all the work that she puts in. I want to pay full price for all your books. I said, I don't even care. Like I want all your books and I want to pay full price because this is her craft. This is what she does. And I would buy them. Like this one here, I was like, I want to buy it. Like, I want to pay full price because this is...
You get it for free.
I know. She said I could have it for free, but still I want to pay because it is an epic deal. And you have them forever. Like, you have these recipes forever. Now, somebody was saying in here, favorite dips. I really like You know, the higher fat dips are super good.
Just small amounts.
Yeah, but the like the spinach dip she has, the French onion dip, which French onion to me, like, oh my God, was one of my favorites. And of course, the old school style was just like sour cream with the Lipton onion soup mixed and, you know, Ruffles potato chips. So I had to rewire my thinking upstairs, and I don't ever have that anymore. But those are really good. Her red pepper cashew. Those three are probably my top favorite. The French onion, the spinach, and the red pepper cashew.
So good. Give them a try, guys. They're in this book. A couple more questions because I'm running out of battery. I ate heaps of greens, but my iron is below borderline. Why is that? Probably because you might be missing the intrinsic factor.
Yeah.
Like, you want to make sure that your B12 is up, and a couple other things. I can't off the top of my head, but search the intrinsic factor.
The intrinsic factor.
B vitamins are very important. Vitamin C is extremely important. And if you were still eating animal products, and I'm not assuming you were or not, but if you were, that heme iron can be toxic to the cells. We don't want to be eating the heme iron, but it's probably the absorption. You're missing certain vitamins that help to absorb the iron.
Now, was that also one where even if it was cooked on the same, was that one where, like, you know, like if you cook something on the same, you know, iron skillet or whatever that meat was cooked on?
Yeah, you can still get some. Oh, that was for bacteria, like E. coli and stuff like that. If you cook your vegan food on the same pan that animal products were cooked in, you can still get those bacteria, like E. coli, which is involved in like bladder infections. Yeah. So people who eat chicken mostly and meat tend to get more bladder infections because they have that E. coli running through their system. So yeah, that's something too. But make sure that you're getting those vitamins that are necessary at absorbing iron. So
what dehydrated temperature makes food still living?
115 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's the magic number, you guys. 115. So if you have a dehydrator, kick it at 110. You're totally in the golden zone.
Perfect. So yeah, I think we are going to wrap this up. We're done with all the questions from what I could see. If we missed it, I do apologize. We were trying to scroll through everything. Yeah. But thank you guys so much for joining in. We're going to post these on YouTube for you to see later on. And we're going to keep these up for 24 hours so people can watch. But yeah, follow Nate at Raw Natty Nate. He's got lots of good stuff coming down the pipe. He's got his nice cream book that's going to come out in the summertime. We are going to be at the UK Fruit Fest, the Canada Fruit Fest, and at Woodstock. So if you want to go to any of those, you can use my code RawFoodRomance to get a discount. Boom. Head over to any of those. And what else? I'm moving to Oregon in the next little bit.
Like another month or so.
Yeah, so hopefully we're just going to listen to what the lawyer says, and we're going to plan. It's going to be cool. Hope you guys can tag along for the journey. But thank you so much, everybody, for being part of our little your little
Thanks, you guys. We love all you guys. And until next time.
Until next time, guys.
You guys enjoy the rest of the night. Love you.
And fruit on.